Vamos aonde?
Atravessar.
Olha a tartaruga, gente, ali. Ai, vem que ela vai mergulhar.
Aonde?
Ah, é aqui, ó. Mergulhou já. Mi, qual que é o horário que a gente vai no Fast Pass África?
10 horas. Dá pra ir no brinquedo antes.
Eu acho que trazer uma dessa pro parque. Aí depois a gente pode vir com mochila, né?
Pode, os outros dias pode. Apesar que hoje foi bem tranquilo a revista, você viu?
Nossa,
Nem tinha fila, na verdade, né? Da revista.
Hi. A gente agora tá indo no brinquedo da Árvore da Vida. Que é The Bug's Life, alguma coisa assim. E é legal aqui, gente, que tem os bichos entalhados, ó. Um dinossauro. Um passarinho.
Gente, é muito da hora. Ó, Rafa.
Cadê o Rafa? Ah, um cabuto.
Não tem barata. Não, né? Pelo amor de
Só um
Deus.
cerco. Ai, que close essa cabeça de
Só a
gente.
gente e as crianças, né? Desse brinquedo. Ai, que bonito.
Viva Gaia, welcome to the Tree of Life Repertory Theater, where our cast of bugs is ready to present their show, It's Tough to Be a Bug. Please note that the show does contain loud voices, darkness, and special effects that may be too intense for some viewers. Please see a Tree of Life class member for additional information.
A gente perde os botões, gente. É, amor, tem que lembrar dos
Eu quero
botões.
muito o botão do meu aniversário.
Olha o mapa.
Mas é o mapa desse, do parque ou só daqui?
Do Animal Kingdom, né?
Não, daqui.
É daqui. Ah.
Pra ver bicho. Vamos ver. Ah, ela vai falar um monte de...
Good morning.
Ah, isso vai ser chato.
Follow dragon right there in the middle.
Olha lá. Nossa, é um dromedário. Não, é o dragão do Komodo, né?
Dromedário. Tudo a ver com dromedário.
Será que dá pra ver? Ai, que lindo.
Olha.
Gente, ele é mega perigoso.
É?
Ele é
Amor, é um dragão de Komodo. Tira a foto, amor. Olha, ele tá comendo.
Carregador, né?
Ah, um pequenininho aqui.
Cadê? Ah, é uma lagartixa. É uma lagartixa.
Come on. Ó, vê a cabeça dele.
Have a good one. Monkeys are here.
Bye.
Hey, Cherry. Dennis.
Cherry, quem é Cherry? Cherry é minha irmã.
Monkeys.
Eu vou mandar pra Frois assim. Ó a Frois, quem tá indo no zoológico aqui, ó.
Mentira.
Olha o que a Faz perdeu. Amor,
Gente, aqui tem tigre de vez em quando.
de vez em quando.
Ó um ali.
Na frente. De vez em quando aqui
aparece.
aparece de vez em quando.
Amor, tem alguma atração aqui que a gente alimenta os bichos? Tipo, eles vêm na gente?
Não sei, amor, acho que não. Ai, que bonito!
O quê?
Lá, ó, em cima da árvore.
Ah. Macaco?
Macacão.
Ah, tá.
Você tá tirando foto, amor? Quero foto de tudo, amor. Nossa!
Pô, aqui não dá nem pra enxergar ele.
É só dar o zoom. Só você colocar isso aqui, ó. Não. Volta. Você aperta na uma flor só.
Aqui?
É, na uma flor só.
Aí eu dou zoom?
É. Tá bom, não dá pra chegar mesmo, vem. A gente coloca um fotógrafo pra tirar as fotos pra você e não consegue tirar foto. Que absurdo.
Oxi, não tá saindo.
Ah, aqui é mais perto, ó. Mas eu consigo tirar foto.
In the wild, so they're not
Igual o
allowed
seu.
to have them in captivity, so
Mandou! Tentando segurar, né?
Tentando segurar.
Eu não vou na Rolling não.
Vai sim. De boas?
Gostaram? Não.
Ó.
Maravilhoso.
Bom, né?
Sério, menino? Não.
Gente, é muito bom.
Adorei.
Acabamos de sair do...
Teatrinho do Nemo.
Isso. O musical do Procurando o Nemo. É legal, é bem bonito, mas quem vier num dia cheio de parque não compensa, porque demora muito. E leva a blusa que lá dentro é muito frio.
Foi uns 40 minutos, meia hora.
Foi, né? Foi uns 40 minutos. E agora, teoricamente, a gente já foi praticamente em tudo. É tirar foto com as coisas. E é isso.
Já já, Kilimanjaro.
E daqui a pouco a gente vai no Kilimanjaro. Não tava filmando.
Ah, amigo.
Sério, não. Gente, eu esqueci de botar pra filmar.
Não acredito nisso. Foram duas pedinhas boas.
Uou! Uou! selfie, Joãozinho. Gente, isso aqui é surreal.
Você achou?
Cold drink?
Olha, amor.
Tá meio cheio aqui agora. Tá vendo elas?
Ali.
Say hey!
Vocês têm 4 centavos?
Tenho.
Reserve. While we're out there, I tutored everyone to remain completely seated at all times, even when we come to a complete stop. Kids are welcome to sit on your lap as long as you don't hold them up like Simba from the Lion King, as everyone must remain fully seated for the entire safari. So wherever your tail end is right now, that is where it stays. And this is of course a photo safari, so make sure all your cameras and phones are ready at all times. Animals could appear at any moment. Now we're starting our journey here in a little Ituri forest. The animals that live in here are really great at camouflaging, so keep a sharp eye out. Look for any sort of movement in the bushes. That might indicate an animal's hiding out there. Oh yeah, but up on the hill to the right is an okapi. Now, okapi have those striped legs that look like a zebra, but they are the only known living relative of the giraffe. And okapi are very shy and reclusive. The Western world didn't even learn about them until 1901. Cultures that did know about them thought they were a mythical creature, kind of like a unicorn. That's how rarely they were ever seen. They're kind of like the unicorns of Africa. If you look up on the hill to the left, you can see some large black and white birds kind of hanging out in the bush right there. Those are saddle-billed storks. They are the largest of all the storks. They can stand up to 5 feet tall, and their wingspan can be as wide as 9 feet wide. That is wider than this truck. And that's a male and a female, a mated pair, but those birds do mate for life. Coming up on this next hill to the right, you'll see some light tan antelope. Those are greater kudu. They are the second largest of the antelope species. Males have the largest horns out of any antelope. They're about 6 feet long. But those are females. They don't have any horns, and they'd be pretty noticeable at that size. And then over by this watering hole to the left, I do sometimes see a black rhino or two, but that's a pretty rare sight nowadays. There are less than 5,000 of them left in the world today. I do actually see one. He's up here on the left. Looks like a big smooth rock up there. Yeah. Like I said, usually very solitary creatures, and they can weigh up to 3,000 pounds. But they are unfortunately poached for their horns, which are then sold on the black market for things like medicinal purposes. But they're made out of keratin, just like your hair and fingernails, so they're really not great for healthcare. Now up on the hill to the right here, you'll see some bongo, dark reddish brown animals. There's quite a few of them back there. A lot of them are hiding in the bushes. Bongo are known as the ghosts of the forest because they are so rarely seen, and their horns are tilted backwards so that when they're running through the brush, nothing gets tangled up in those horns. You see that black rhino over here? Not a better angle, but a little bit closer. But yeah, you can see the animals out here do a great job of camouflaging. They do blend right in sometimes. It looks like we also have found a small stream down here, and that means we're probably getting pretty close to the Safi River. There have been a lot of hippo sightings over there recently, so let's go check it out and see if we can find any. Now, I would recommend keeping your eyes on the water when we get there, because hippos do spend most of their day submerged. They can hold their breath for up to 8 minutes at a time. They're actually nocturnal animals, so while they spend most of their day just taking naps under the water, avoiding that hot sun, at night they'll come out and graze along the banks of the river. Just keep your eyes on the water. Yeah, there's some over to the left there. And a group of hippos like this is called a bloat. And then the birds on the island are pink-backed pelicans. They get their name because during mating season they get a pinkish coloration. It's kind of like they're blushing for their one true love. Now hippos, they can weigh up to 5,500 pounds, but only eat about 80 to 90 pounds of food a day, which is not a lot for their body size. They also have very large teeth, but they're not much help when they're eating because they are vegetarians. Their teeth are used more for defense. They're very territorial and are considered the most dangerous animal in Africa. But my favorite thing about hippos is the noise that they make. It's called a wheeze honk. It's exactly what you'd imagine it would sound like. Ooh, and then over to the left, those are Nile crocodiles. They can also hold their breath for up to 2 hours at a time if they remain inactive, and that's how they catch a lot of their prey. They just stay very, very still underneath the water, wait for their prey to get close enough to them, and then they snap. That's a lot more effective than chasing those animals down because they can only run about 10 miles an hour, whereas a lot of the other animals out here can run upwards of 30 miles an hour. But even 10 miles an hour is faster than a human can run. Now we're going to be heading out onto the savannah next, but before we go, I always like to pause and point out that tree on the right. That's a baobab tree. It's also known as an upside down tree because its branches kind of look like a root system. They only have leaves one season out of the year and can live to be 2,000 years old. And their trunks do store quite a bit of water. So when it gets dry out here, elephants like to gouge out the bark and they'll drink right from the trunk of the tree. That has happened pretty often. There isn't always a lot of water readily available out here. It is an African savanna. And speaking of, this beautiful landscape is the Africa that we're trying so hard to preserve. And it is home to a lot of different animals. Right at the bottom of the hill to the right, you'll see some little springbok. When springbok get scared, they jump into the air repeatedly, about 6 feet high. It's called pronking. They can also spring 13 feet forward and run 50 to 60 miles an hour, making them one of the top 10 fastest animals on the savannah. And those are all fully grown adult springbok. They only weigh up to 100 pounds. They're pretty cute. But you're going to see lots of animals out here right now, and don't worry, we'll get nice and close to all of them and talk about them when we get there. Now, coming up on the left is a cave. It's usually a great place to look for predators. So look for something big and scary with sharp teeth, something that looks really dangerous. You see a spotted hyena inside the cave there.
Atrás do macho ali, ó.
She's on her back. Cute. Now, hyenas aren't all that closely related to dogs or to cats. They're their own species called hyenidae. And they're really good hunters, even though they may not be scavengers, and their bite can break bones. And you may know that they make that laughing noise that you hear in movies and such, but they actually have a lot of different noises they can make. They have one of the widest vocal ranges out of any animal. So if you hear any strange noises, it's probably a hyena. They do everything from a laugh to a whoop to a bark to a growl to a howl. Everything. They do everything. Also on the left, those coppery animals laying down are sable antelope. They are the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve because they are so fiercely protective. And that's what we need to do. Protect these animals. And then we'll be driving in between some tall spires of dirt. These are termite mounds. They bake in the sun until they're as hard as cement. And then elephants like to use them as scratching posts. Once they're all worn down, the elephants, a smaller animal like the springbok, will hop up on there and use them as lookouts for lions in the tall grass. On average, they're about 8 feet tall, but there have been some reported that are 30 feet high in more tropical areas. As a reference, giraffe are around 20 feet tall. That's a giraffe and a half. And they're very well organized. They have a lot of different rooms in there. There's a room for food, a room for the queen, a room for water, which collects down the spout. It's like a little mansion in there. And they're made out of dirt, dung, and termite spit. So not a mansion I don't want to live in. Now coming up on this hill to the right, you'll see a whole herd of white-bearded wildebeest. Wildebeest in Afrikaans does mean wild beast, but they're also known as gnu, spelled G-N-U, and that mimics the sound that they make. It's kind of like a cow's moo, but a lot lower. And baby wildebeest can stand within 15 minutes of being born. Very important, because if they can't keep up by the time the herd leaves, they'll get left behind. I know. Pretty sad.
Ah, a girafa está pertinho.
Also on this hill, if you look kind of in between the trees to the right there, you'll see some Ankole cattle. Their horns are sticking up. They're all kind of laying down right now. They're hard to see. Yep, they're in there. And then a bit closer to us here, you'll see a whole tower of giraffes.
Mas essa aqui tá mais perto?
Essa tá muito pertinho.
Make sure everyone to stay seated though, friends. Make sure we are staying seated.
Oh, que lindo.
Giraffes are the tallest animal in the world. Across the road here, actually. But they do have the same amount. Oh, no, but they have the same amount of vertebrae in their necks as humans do. 7. They also have the highest blood pressure out of any animal, and their heart is 2 feet long and weighs 25 pounds. And giraffes are very social animals. We usually found in a big group called a tower. There's a whole tower out here today, and these are all Maasai giraffe. You can tell because their spots have kind of a messy pattern to them, but there are 9 different species of giraffe. You can also see a little baby giraffe on the right. You can drink from a puddle. She's about 6 months old now. And you can see those Ankole cattle much better over here. Their horns can grow to be 4 to 5 feet long and look really heavy, but they're actually pretty light. They're honeycombed on the inside, and their blood flows through there to help cool them off, sort of like a natural air conditioner. And then over here, it looks like there are a lot of knocked over trees and branches. That's a good sign elephants have come through. So just keep your eyes out. We are going to be heading into elephant country.
Oh,
And I do see an elephant here on the right. This is a male. They tend to travel by themselves, whereas females will travel in a big herd with all the kids. Males are also a bit bigger than females are, by about 2,000 to 4,000 pounds. They're fully grown. But that one looks pretty small. He might be pretty young. Probably just separated from the herd recently. And they do have one of the longest childhoods out of any animal. About 15 years before males will wander away or get kicked out of the herd. Sometimes they'll join up with a small bachelor group, but usually, like I said, they just travel around by themselves. The only animal with a longer childhood is a human. Sometimes they'll never leave. But yeah, right around age 15, the boys get a bit too rambunctious to be around the females and the kids anymore. So the girls chase them away, and they'll just follow around at a safe distance for most of their lives. It's easier that way because the boys really don't know where they're going, just like in some other species. But we're going to head a little bit deeper into elephant country to see if we can find any more elephants. Like I said, males are never too far from the herd of all the females, especially when they're young like that. They still don't know where they're going. And we have found some red clay pits over here, which is probably why he's hanging around. They get a lot of the nutrients they need from this red clay. They use it kind of like a multivitamin and just supplement their diet whenever they need to. And it looks like there are a lot of tusk marks in the clay over here, a lot of footprints as well. So that might mean there's a herd of elephants around. Let's see if we can find any more. Now, elephants are the largest animal on land, but they do have very sensitive skin, and they can get sunburnt just like we can. So they use their trunks to pick up dirt, mud, clay, whatever they can find really, And they toss it on their backs to act like a natural sunscreen for them. Their trunks are also really impressive. They have about 40,000 different muscles in them, so they're very agile and strong. They could also hold 5 gallons of water in them, whether it's to drink or to splash themselves. And a group of elephants can be called a herd, but they can also be called a parade, just like in the Jungle Book. And these are all African elephants, because we are, of course, in Africa. Another way you can tell is by looking at the shape of their ears. They're kind of shaped like the continent of Africa itself. And by flapping those ears, they can cool off by about 15 degrees. Pretty cool. I wish I could do that. Plus, we're going to have a nice view of one down here by the watering hole, so we'll go take a look at her. And you may have heard that an elephant never forgets. That's pretty true. They have great memories. They can remember events, places, even elephants in different herds. They're very, very smart. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, coming up on the left are going to be some greater flamingo. They are the largest of all the flamingos, standing about 5 feet tall when they're fully grown. They're also the lightest colored pink, but they're actually pretty gray in color when they're hatched. It takes them about a year to get that pink color, which they get from their diet of brine shrimp, which is high in beta-carotene. And a group of flamingo like this has a really fun name. It's called a flamboyance. But I would like to take a second to talk about poachers, because they're a really big threat out here. And they do target animals like elephants for their tusks made out of ivory, rhinos for their horns, and even lions and cheetahs for their fur coats. And poachers are really well financed and have a lot of high-tech tools and sophisticated hunting methods, so it's tough for us to keep up. But these animals also suffer from habitat loss due to human encroachment, because the more humans there are, the more land we need, and the less land there is left for these animals. One way that you can help is by recycling your old electronic devices and cell phones. There's a mineral in there called coltan, which is mined where a lot of these animals, but especially the elephants, live. So by recycling them, you reduce the need to keep mining there, saving land for the elephants. Now if you look over to the right, I do see some white rhinos back there, but we're actually heading in that direction, so we'll try to catch up with them a bit later and get a little bit closer. And we're going to be heading into big cat territory next. And coming up on these next hills to the left, I have been seeing some cheetahs lurking around, but you will have to look extra carefully. Cheetahs are really great at camouflaging, especially in backgrounds like this one. Now, cheetahs are the fastest land mammal. They can reach speeds of 70 miles an hour. They can only hold that speed for about 20 seconds. They can also go from 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds, and a group of cheetahs is called a coalition. They have black stripes that come down from their eyes. Those are kind of like a pair of sunglasses for them. They'll attract sunlight away from their eyes so they don't get blinded by the sun. It's the same reason you'll see football players put black paint into their eyes. They get their inspiration from cheetahs. And yeah, you can see 2 cheetahs back there. The one's at the bottom of that farthest to right in that big patch of grass there. The other one is more to the left. You can just see she's facing the other way, her little black ears. But yeah, you can see they do blend in pretty well.
Nossa, tá bem longe.
Especially that second one. Yeah, she blends right in. There's going to be one more over here as well. She's right between the bases of these trees here. Kind of where the base is covered in all the moss. You look to the left of that. She's in between those 2 trees. But yeah, like I said, they're almost the exact same color and pattern as the ground. So they are fantastic at camouflaging. You can barely tell where she ends in the
Entre as duas árvores.
And she's just the only large cat that hunts during the day, has non-retractable claws, and that purrs. But we're going to be coming up on a Kopi rock formation next. This will be a great place to look for lions. They like to climb up to the top of the rocks. It gives them a great vantage point to look out for any prey that might be around. A bride will typically consist of about 15 to 20 lions, just one male, the rest females. You can always tell a male by their beautiful mane, and manes do help protect their necks during fights, but in a pride it is the females that do most of the hunting. Males to back and guard the territory and the cubs.
Oh yeah.
She's right in the dip in those rocks there, look sort of backwards. They do sleep for about 16 to 20 hours out of the day. They are much more active at night. That's when they do a lot of their hunting, because their eyesight gets 6 times better in the dark, whereas it's about equal to humans during the day. They're also a lot more vocal at night, and a lion's roar can be heard 5 miles away. So probably just be sleeping for most of the day.
Interessante.
Waking